You are not the story, and yet your story is a symbol of your strength, whether it is a light of triumph or a shadow of failure. Every chapter offers an opportunity for growth. Author unknown. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Light and Shadows. My name is JF. Today I want to talk and take a slightly different approach or slightly different direction. I want to share some of the frictions I've encountered in my own life. Not just to vent, but to offer a roadmap. They say that our hardships define us. And while that may be true, I have to ask, is there a better way? So I dove into that, and I think I may have found one. Often when we navigate hardships alone, we emerge harder, colder, or bitter. But what if sharing our scars could help somebody else avoid these wounds? To me, that's the ultimate purpose. While textbooks and classrooms offer theory, the world offers us wisdom, the wisdom of lore. You know what in ancient ways used to be passed on knowledge. And the thing about passing on knowledge that way is that it has a bigger impact on us because we can somehow or sometimes relate to it, that we can see the feelings that go with it, we can attach ourselves to it. And that's a profound way of learning. So, I'm at a stage in my life where, I'm not decrepit, but I'm not young anymore. And I have some baggage. I have a lot of experience that I can pass on in the hopes that it's going to help others. So we improve in two ways: through our own trials or by paying attention to the trials of those around us. What I mean by that, this next chapter I called the coffee shop lesson. The coffee cup. I want coffee. Let me show you what I mean with a small moment that I witnessed at a coffee shop this morning involving an older lady and a new employee. It reminded me of four vital truths, and I will tell you these truths after I tell you the story. So I went to meet a friend of mine for coffee this morning, and we probably, we meet once a week at least. So ahead of me, while I was waiting in line, there was this much older lady. She's probably in her 70s. And she was grumbling because the young girl at the cash was busy doing something else, and the lady was waiting. So to me, that told me that it's cream of entitlement. That's what first came to me, This old lady wants to be served now, and she doesn't want to wait. Not like she had to go to work. She was just meeting friends. So I didn't say anything, but I could tell. I could feel. So this thing about me, I'm able to read. Not to read. I'm able to feel energy. That's one of my gifts. And that's why it makes it very hard for people to lie to me, because I can feel the energy behind it. I could see that this young girl was visibly shaken. She probably wasn't older than 20. It might be her first job. She might have been 17, 18 for all I know. I have no idea. She was young. Visibly shaken, visibly embarrassed, visibly all the things. So, the whole lady came and went. And when it was my turn, that young lady was so flustered that she could not take my order properly. So what I did is I gave her time. I stayed, I remained patient, I gave her time, because I used my emotional intelligence to put myself in her shoes. And I remembered then that I was that kid at one point that got flustered because somebody asked something that I couldn't provide fast enough. I think we've all been there, haven't we? Anyway, one of her co-workers came, helped her and showed her. And when my order was done, I leaned closer to the young lady and I said, listen, I don't want you to be embarrassed by what happened here, because you're obviously very young. This is obviously your very first week. And I don't want you to feel embarrassed. I want you to feel proud of yourself for getting through this. Anyway, I talked to her for a little bit, and she was on the verge of tears, so I stopped, thanked her, and I watched after that, because I stayed at the coffee shop with my friend for about an hour and a half. So I watched her, and you know what? I think what I said to her really made a difference, and I'm very happy about that. So here's a fourth truth that I learned about that today. Projection is a mirror. Unhealed people project their internal pain into others because of the ego. 2. The ego's blindness. When we are trapped in our ego, we see only ourselves, become blind to the real world. Consequently, blind to the damage our actions cause. 3. Accountability gap. Accountability does not end with an apology. Saying I'm sorry is a good start. However, true accountability is proving you've broken the pattern through consistent, changed behavior. And that's a hard thing to attain. The compassion factor. We must remember that some people are simply incapable of doing better in the moment. because of unresolved trauma. And I'm not talking about the employee, I'm talking about the old lady. The old lady's definitely got some unresolved trauma because there was no need for her to do what she did. Now, have I done that in the past? I did. But that's the difference between people who are awoken and those who are still sleeping. Being awoken is not like this new wave, like, oh, I found myself. No. Being awoken is the realization of your action throughout your life and the desire to do better by changing how you go about life. So, choosing a new perspective. In that moment at the coffee shop, I had a choice. I could have reacted to the lady's harshness and tell her off and ask her to do better. But I realized that letting go of things that doesn't serve me is the greatest gift that I can give myself. And letting go of things that don't serve you is probably the best gift you can give yourself. So what I did or didn't do by choosing a new perspective, by looking at things in a different way, is I chose not to respond to her negativity. Instead, I focused on the young employee because I felt her anxiety. I used my emotional intelligence to choose patience. I put myself in her shoes. I remembered when I was a newbie, and I stepped in to de-escalate the situation with kindness. Now, you know what? That young lady will probably remember this for the rest of her life. It wasn't a grand gesture. It was just 2 minutes. But she'll probably remember that for the rest of her life. And that's powerful. That's changing your perspective, and that's changing somebody's life. That's bringing your light into somebody's life. So by sharing my light, by sharing my kindness, by sharing my emotional intelligence, I made her light grow, and I made her day better. And I know she will remember that for a long, long time. And I know that she'll do the same one day too. And see, that's my purpose here. To light up the way so that others can see the results of positive actions. And you know what? This will help you throughout your life like you would not believe. I'm not saying that you need to, show the other cheek when somebody punches you in the face. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what? In most situations in our lives, I'd say a good 97% of the time, we can choose to react a different way. We can choose to use our empathy. We can choose to use our emotional intelligence. That's it. So the takeaway of all this. So yesterday's actions may define your today. But your actions right now, the actions you take today, define your tomorrow. So it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. It's what you do today. It's the actions that you take today that will define tomorrow for you. So don't let change be an anchor holding you in place. You can't change a previous chapter, but you are holding the pen for the next one. Be courageous. Step into a better version of yourself. Rewrite your timeline. Raise your frequency. And bring balance back into your life. Remember, your worth isn't defined by what you have. It is defined by who you choose. All right, that was my piece of advice for the week. As always, I'm going to ask you, how's your week been? Have you shared your light this week? Aside from that coffee shop thing this morning, you shared it a few times. We had a bit of a snow dust there this week. I did my driveway, and of course I did the old lady's in front of me's driveway. And she always calls me back later on that day, thanking me, and what can I do for you? And I'm like, nothing. That was my pleasure to do that for you. She's old, she's often sick, so if the ambulance come, then and she gets sick, and then the ambulance come, then at least they have a clear path. Or if she gets visitors, she has a clear, like she can't go out there and do it herself, it's too much. And I think a couple of days after the furnace stopped functioning, so she had let it needed reset, I suppose. Anyway, I don't have an old furnace, I don't know much about it, but I knew enough to push the reset button, and bingo, everything went well. So what have you done to share your light? Because I know when I share my light, I feel good. It makes me glow, it makes me warm and fuzzy inside, it makes me happy. And again, in today's world, we need to share our light more than ever. And I hope that what I gave you, the story I gave you earlier, is a good example of how you can share your light and grow at the same time. So anyway, that's it for me for this week. As always, I wish you love, light, and shadows. Until next week.